You know, I could recount all the times that I've. By the way, I'm talking about a little about bullying, and I could talk about all the times that I've been made to feel like a pile of dog shit by other people. But quite frankly, I don't want to go into those. Whenever I think about all the bad times, it makes me sick. Makes me wonder why people would do that. I see all these kids that go on YouTube and they talk about how they've been bullied. I think that's still going on in 2011. There's been a state that passed a law that said if it's religious or moral convictions, go the fuck ahead and do it. Makes me wonder what's wrong with people these days. When did we stop seeing each other as human? When did we start dehumanizing somebody and thinking that we can get away with this? That it'll all be alright as long as I look out for myself and I feel better about myself by pissing on somebody else. Now, I've been the fucking target of this, okay? I have been the target. I have been other people's uh, peeing mat, if you will, because they think that they're superior. Well, there's another group of people who thought they were superior to other people. They were called Nazis. And the Allies, realizing what a threat this was, went out and fought them. And eventually, with the help of the United States of America, defeated them. Now, bullying is a different type of threat. It's not this big war machine in the traditional sense that people can lob bombs at and fly planes over and bomb or send soldiers over to shoot. Is an ideal. An ideal that one person is superior to another, and it must be fought. But not in the way that certain hardcore right-wing people would understand. It must be fought in a different way. With education. Making them realize that when one group of people is dehumanized, or when you dehumanize somebody else to make yourself feel better, then you may as well have taken a gun to their head and pulled the trigger. I'm not advocating for school violence or for violence of any kind. What I'm saying is, obviously, we as a society, we as the people who are supposed to know better, are failing. Because not only are there people who are making desperate cries for help out on places such as YouTube, but there are young people who are taking their own lives. Not just LBGT youth, but persons living with disabilities. Now, I think there needs to be stronger laws made to protect people not just from cyberbullying, but bullying in general. And of course, We see this not just in the young people who are being bullied. We see people in the workplace who are bullying other people. People who think that it's their God-given right to feel superior over somebody else, because quite frankly they don't see them as human beings anymore. They see them as fodder for their malicious, sadistic behavior. And nobody calls bullshit on it. Why do you think in my last video I called bullshit on that person? Because he deserved it. He was being angry. He was being mean. He was being a hateful, ignorant person, and I needed for him to know that. I also needed YouTube to know that. So that is why I put in that flag on his video. I wanted them to know that, to me, this was unacceptable behavior. Well, to me, bullying of any kind, whether I don't care if they're gay, straight, neurotypical, on the autism spectrum, whether they're living with a disability, whether they're not, whether they're man, woman, or transgender in either direction, whether they happen to wear women's shoes when they happen to be physically male, whatever. You know what I care about? I care about the fact that there are too many people out there who are treating other people like they don't matter just because they happen to be a little different. Who are treating other people like it is their God-given right to put them down and drive them to the point of suicide because they think they're better than them. I have a major problem with somebody who would take it a step further into... I mean, psychological violence is bad, okay? It can drive somebody to die without ever laying a finger on them. Emotional damage takes a long time to repair. Psychological damage, the same. Now, there are some people, they physically harm people. Now, emotionally, that's going to damage a person too. Psychological scars from that, they're going to remain. And there are people out there who think that they're so much better than others that they will kill them just for being different. Not because this person did anything to them personally, but because they think that, again, social order, me, and I'm not saying me personally, I'm saying me as in from their point of view, the bully's point of view, here I am, or the person who wants to rid themselves of something they think is lesser, and then the perceived lesser person, well, bam, dead. The Nazis had that similar type of thinking, as I think I pointed this out. All throughout history, people have seen themselves as different from somebody else. In the past, it was white race, Latino race, Asian race. Now it's gay, straight, bi, trans. Oh look, mental people. Gimpy in the wheelchair. Retard with the Asperger's. All in this forgetting, in this way of forgetting that we are all human. Because if you saw somebody else, if you saw somebody who was trans as human, if you saw somebody who was gay as human, and I'm talking to the people that would make fun of them for being so. If you saw the person with the disability as being human, I doubt that you would be able to make fun of them with a clear conscience because, well, one would presume that you would think of yourself as human. So having, well, obviously, categorizing them as different and hating them for that, that that allows the dehumanization. That allows for the distancing here. Oh no, they're different. They're different. They don't deserve to live. Or if it's religious reason, oh, God doesn't love them. They're not really human. They're deviants. Whatever the excuse is, it's what happens way too frequently. It sickens me. Now, I had a teacher back in grade 1 and grade 4. She wrote a poem for myself and 2 other students. I'm going to read that poem because I think it illustrates something that people really need to think about. People really need to think about this. My teacher's name is Betty Fay. It's called Look at Me. The poem is called Look at Me. Look at me, comes the silent cry. I am born as you. I shall die as you. I am of human flesh. I bleed when cut. My heart quickens with joy. My eyes shed the tears of pain. Do not hear the prejudices of the world. Do not notice the color of my skin. Do not see my wheelchair. Do not single out the handicap. Do not heed the actions I cannot control. Just look at me. Now this makes me think that if we just looked at somebody rather than noticing their differences, then maybe, just maybe, we might be in a different spot. She wrote a letter. She had said, as a thank you, I've written this poem for you, for Mary and Melissa. During the time I've had each of you as a student, you've given me more than it was possible to have ever given you. I am proud to have known each of you. God knew the world needed more love, so he created you. This poem may mean nothing to you now. Please keep it. As the years go by, I hope that whenever you take it out and read it, you may have a faint memory of a teacher who will forever hold each of you in a special place in her heart, reserved for special people. My love, Betty Fay. I bring both of these points up because she was a good teacher. I remember in grade 4, this guy, Alan, he he said he said some off the wall comment, and he used the word nigger, and she asked him, "Do you know what that means?" Of course, he replied, "It means ignorant." She looked at him. She said, "No. What does it mean?" Colored. And then she went on to explain why she didn't want to hear that word in the classroom. She went on to say that it doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, or green. Yeah, that was pretty much the saying by teachers in the mid 90s, I guess. Early 90s, 93. Yeah, I'm old. Get over it. Was being facetious there. The thing is, it was meant to tell us that, and back then, color was still a big issue, especially if you're in a rural area, which I was. Yeah, we didn't have anybody but pasty white people. So she was explaining that yes, there are people of different colors out there, and yes, they are still human. And yes, you must treat them with the same dignity you would each other. That was really hard hitting because it was something that nobody had ever challenged us on before. But I still remember that. I still remember the influential teacher that she was. And I remember her retirement. My mom wanted me to read this poem. And I said, no, they don't want me to speak. They're not gonna want me to speak. I don't even have I don't even have a speech written. So anyway, mom says do it. Alright. They're not gonna want me to. They hauled my ass up on stage and I spoke. I read that poem and I began speaking about that poem and I felt a little guilty. I saw her crying and I just thought, oh fuck. Great job, asshole. You made the teacher cry. Thank you. She's gonna want to kill you now. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut this short. I've inadvertently made my teacher cry. I feel like such an ass. And then I stepped out. Yeah. Yeah, Pisces. Very emotional when people actually bring up things that are moving. Not a bad thing. Although now I feel a little less embarrassed than I did when I was giving that speech. So yeah, now I'm gonna stop rambling because I think I've made my point and then some change. And you're saying to yourselves, God damn it, will you shut the fuck up? Okay, I think I will. So anyway, have a nice day, and I hope that some of this made some sense. Have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.